Hey guys, welcome to Ice Hockey Aussies Power Rankings Week 8. And here to kick us off is Jaden with pick 32.
All right, so pretty standard pick for 32, not moving. Got the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, big call there. I've actually made a change,
You've
and they're
made a
my
change.
31. Yep.
Okay. I guess I know who your 32 is. The reason I couldn't do it, I understand, but they've only got one regulation win in 28 games, which it has to be some sort of record. Negative 50 goal differential, and just looking at the goalies because I thought I'd have a look at the goalies. 0.894 for John Gibson and 0.886 for Stellaris. Um, it's not even above 900. It's not hanging on the goalies, but yeah, that's why I couldn't put them higher. Is the one regulation win?
Yeah, I know. I get that. I teeted with it as well. I had them at 31 after the win against Carolina, which was a pretty gutsy win. I thought when they lost 6-1 to San Jose, I might put them just straight back to 32. But do you know what? Chicago just haven't been getting it done. I know I'm giving away my 32
Oh,
straight off the bat,
we'll
but
just put them in now.
um,
Yep.
may as well put them in. But yeah, they just haven't been getting it done for a long time. And I know Anaheim have only the one regulation win, but for me, at least they're getting wins lately. Chicago's had 3 wins in 20 games.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
get one goal this week out of 3 games. Funny enough,
that that that's the other thing.
they scored only one goal, but they still had the same goal differential as Columbus for the week, which I found funny. But yeah,
Well, that's what happens when someone puts 9 through.
but yeah, I understand that. You got a player like Kane, but he can't even score. It's yeah. Look, they're in full rebuild. The Seth Jones trade is very questionable because of where they're going in the rebuild and what they've done. I guess it's a matter of time till they trade Kane and Taves now to get some assets. But with those contracts and if they waive the NMCs or not.
I definitely think they will, and they will go eventually. It's just when will it be now or will it be closer to the deadline? But we'll just have to wait and see. Well,
Alrighty.
given that one, we'll move on to pick 30.
Alrighty. Pick 30 for me. Sorry, I'm just having a look here. It's gone a bit wayward. But I got the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, have they even moved for you?
Yeah, they're +1
Oh, they
because
went up one. They
they're
went
they're
up one.
they're replacing Chicago.
Fair enough. Nah, I've got no movement for them this week.
Mm.
But they're just one above at 29.
Yeah, I teetered with moving them one up one more, but I just hadn't pulled the trigger yet. I did find it interesting for I was going to do some even strength points and defensive giveaway stats for this one. Eric Carlson number one on even strength, 24 points in 30 games, but he's also number 6 in the league with defensive giveaways at number 21, with 21. So I thought that was quite interesting.
A bit of Jekyll and Hyde there.
Yeah,
Um,
all offense,
yeah,
no
it's
defense.
which has probably been one of the big letdowns for him.
Yeah.
Um,
It I think they're slightly on the up, but it's they do a big win against Anaheim, but it's Anaheim, so
yeah, it's tough, and they show glimpses of making their way up the rankings and sort of maybe getting their season to kickstart, but then they just fall right back down. But I also think they'd be quite happy to be there right now. They're going to trade Carlson out if they can find a suitor for him, and in getting someone in the top 5 of this year's draft is probably extremely beneficial for them.
mm,
So yeah, I think it's one of those difficult years for them where they probably don't want to be um, up in the rankings. So yeah.
no, for sure.
Anyway, pick 30 for me. I've got. I had to move them down. I thought they were on their way up, but after that demolition derby from Buffalo, uh,
Yep.
They find themselves back at pick 30, yeah, P30, and it's Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, that's where I've got them at 29. Moving down for me as well.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Like, I thought they were making their way back. They had some real good games, and then this week, I mean, they get a good win against Calgary, which made me question my decision at P30. But that loss against Buffalo, that was disgusting. Yep,
Yeah,
they scored a couple of
yeah.
goals to make it a little bit better, but oh my God, 9 goals. I know Buffalo can score, but that was ridiculous.
Well,
Um,
they got
and
Tage
their loss
Thompson.
against Pittsburgh wasn't much better. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Tage Thompson beat them by himself.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, it was a good showing for Tage Thompson, but yeah, that loss, like they're conceding too many goals, like 4 goals against Detroit, 4 goals against Penguins, 9 against Buffalo, and then they finally stem it and concede 1 against Calgary, but just too many goals. Like I said, equal goal differential with Chicago. Interesting thing is Johnny Gaudreau is number 7 in the league for even strength points, which I found quite interesting. 21 points, 26 games. Um,
Yeah,
so at
I don't
least
think he's having a bad season.
I don't think
Like,
he's having a bad. I
uh,
think like some games he's disappeared though, but you can tell
mm,
he's the only one trying sometimes, especially when
yeah,
they went through the period where they weren't trying. But at least I can see that they're trying now. It's definitely better than probably 10 games ago, but definitely moving down for this week.
yeah, for sure.
Number 28 for me, I have team once again from the Metro. It's the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yep, yep.
So,
Um,
so they
oh,
just
actually,
they
I've got
swap.
them up. I thought I had them where you had them, but I've got them one up.
Oh no, shameful, horrible. Um,
Yeah,
no,
terrible.
they had a good week. They had a pretty decent week in regards to results. Um, they go beat Colorado, though it's deprived Colorado. It's really hard to gauge how good those wins are. Colorado's putting up the fights, but they're down men. Then they lose against Washington, but the big thing was the OT loss against the Knights.
Against the Vegas. Yeah, they really took it to the Knights as well. Um, yeah, they played quite a good game. I was quite kind of disappointed they couldn't get that win because I felt like they deserved it.
Yeah, but I'm still not a fan of the game style they're playing. I think there's just like they're doing some big hits, but it's kind of like
Hmm.
pushing and barging. I don't know. I know Delorier's leading the league in hits, and that's kind of his enforcer role. But I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan of it personally, but that's me. Anyway, on
Oh
to
yeah, but I think that's the only way they're going to be competitive. If they try and outskill teams and
oh yeah,
outplay them, they're going to get done. So I think Torts has definitely said to make us more competitive, we're going to play a very physical style. We're going to try and push and barge teams out of their
I agree. It's just when you go too
fluent
far.
speed.
That's what my issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we all know Torts has has a history of going too far. So, um, but yeah, all right. For my pick 28, I didn't like putting them down too much. They did. I almost swapped them back, but Arizona Coyotes picked P28 for me. Just that loss against Edmonton, they got absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
I know that win against Boston was good, but reality, it should have gone to OT. They got absolutely belted across the park. Um, Probably a lucky win.
Yeah,
Um,
4 goals and
but
16,
yeah,
16 shots. It's pretty lucky win, really.
yeah,
But at least they're fighting. They're staying in it. I know they're going to be that team where a goalie steals game here and there. I like their game against
yeah.
Calgary. I thought they were in it, but obviously that Edmonton game, they just fell apart. A few power play giveaways, which obviously when Connor and Drysdale are on there, they're going to score. So get blown out the park. But it's the Bruins game and the Calgary game together that still holds me them. They're at 27 above Philly and the likes, but it's a close. Like depending how they go, they could drop pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
exactly. All right,
26
moving on.
for me. I have team shouldn't be this low. It's the St. Louis Blues.
Mm, St. Louis Blues. Oh, I I see your point there. I really do. But I haven't dropped them quite as far. I've got them at 24.
Ooh, that's a big one. Okay, I'll let you
I
talk.
actually dropped them further than you. I
Yeah,
actually dropped them further
yeah.
than you. I
You're
just didn't.
you're much higher on
Yeah.
them. You've been much higher on them a little bit over the season. You had them in the top 16 while I've had them out in past weeks. I'm just not a fan. They're playing like they've got large players, but they're trying to play a skill
Hmm.
game, and they're getting outskilled by skilled teams playing skilled games. That's what I think's happening. Uh, it's it's a yo-yo season. I think they're in decline. If we just have a look at their week, they lose to the Rangers. They go and win against the Islanders on a back-to-back, which was really great,
Yep.
and then they lose to the Jets. So it was a metro week and a very hard week. The Islanders win. It stands out,
Yep.
but they're conceding too many goals for my liking. 6 goals, 4 goals, then 5 goals. It's too many goals.
Yeah. They haven't scored, and they had that stat. I don't know if it was broken, but they had the stat where they conceded 3 goals in one period for 9 games straight.
Yep, yep,
Um, and think I do think that it was broken against Winnipeg. I might be wrong here. Yeah, it was broken against Winnipeg, but they still conceded 5 goals against Winnipeg.
yep.
Um, they're 2-7 in their last nine. It's yeah, it's
Yeah,
just not looking good for them.
it's interesting what that happens
Um,
with Binnington. I know the management and the fan base aren't really happy with how he acting towards the whole argy bargy against opponents' defensemen. Just focus and
yeah,
do your job. But it'll be
it's
interesting
it's a
if he's the one that gets the cut because of that.
yeah. I mean, it's okay to be like argy bargy and hold your ground and a bit pushy when you're saving pucks.
Yeah.
But mate, when you're conceding 5 goals a game, shut up. Like just shut up and do your job. Like
Yeah, look at
I just I
look at Anaheim
oh
goalies, look at Arizona goalies. Like, just do your job.
yeah,
Uh,
shut up and do your job. Do you know what? When your goal against average is 2.4 instead of 3.4 and your save percentage is above 900, then you can start talking shit. But
mm,
until then, just
yeah,
shut up and do your job. But yeah, I don't know what else to make of St. Louis. They're just up and down. Yeah. Who knows? Next 2 or 3 weeks, we could be talking about them in the playoffs again. Um, but yeah. All right. My pick 26 is a team that's been doing pretty well lately. I didn't really see him having any movement this week, so I left them where they are, and it's Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, okay. I've got them at 24, so
Nice.
a little bit higher. They move up 2 positions for me actually for the week.
Yeah, and I get that. For me, they get a basically just a shootout. And I don't mean a shootout win. I mean a shootout overtime win where it was just who could score more goals, basically against Montreal. Similar thing against San Jose, and then they get shut out against Minnesota. So they did get the 2 wins, but the opponents weren't exactly the best. I just liked a bit from the teams ahead of them a bit more than them, but I do think they're heading in the right direction. They just need to keep those wins coming.
Yeah, well, they're conceding over 4 goals, almost 5 goals a game for the 3 games. That's
Hmm.
yeah, you got issues there. They're scoring besides the Minnesota shutout, but yeah, they still got their gripes. We're still waiting on the Brock Besser trade and whatnot, what happens there. But I feel like they're pretty solid from 24 down. It's where they've been all season, so I don't see them going too much
Yeah.
higher. Uh, Alrighty, pick number 25 for me. basically, I was flipping and flopping between having them above Vancouver or not. I have the Ottawa Senators. Alrighty. Are you still there?
Sorry, um, just cut out a little bit, but we're good.
All right. Yeah, I've got the Ottawa Senators at 25. They don't move for me. And, well, you look at their week, they lose to LA, the OT lose against Dallas, and then they get the win against Nashville. It's they're playing good. They're not quite getting all the results they want. And it was a good game against Dallas and a good win against Nashville. I would have liked to see them be like put more, or pretty much get the win against LA. I think they should be getting that win as well. I think they're good enough for that. They don't move for me though.
Yeah,
I flipped and flopped between having them at 24 or 25.
yeah, that loss against LA is probably what's sort of bumped them down. Or sorry, or left them where they are rather than moving them up. Um, they we've said it all year. Ottawa are playing better than their position. Um, but at the end of the day, you can play as good as you want. If you're not winning games, you're not moving. So I hope they do get it together because I do really like their team. Um, but for now, yeah, this is as good as they can get, I reckon.
Yeah. All right, on to your 23.
Right, pick 23 for me. These guys seem to just keep moving down a position every week, and they don't really do much wrong. But it's Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, that's where I've got them too.
They're just, I don't think they're doing much. Like, they're not performing badly in the sense of worse than I'm expecting them to. It's just teams around them are doing a bit better.
Mm.
They had a reasonable week. They got 3 points from 3 games, but I just think teams around them are doing a bit better at the moment.
Yeah, their first line looks good. Like Nick Suzuki is number 9 in the league for even strength points, 20 points in 26 games. Cole Caulfield looks amazing. He's a good sniper. They've only got 8 out of 13 regulation wins. That's a big gripe I have with them. And my next one is their defensive giveaways. They have 3 players in the top 10 in the league, which is horrendous.
Mm,
Caden Gooley is easily number 1 in the league at 31. I believe the next highest is 28. Number 4, uh, Kovacevic, 22,
yep.
and then Joel Edmondson with 20. So I think that's your issue there. Your defensive giveaways, there's too many.
Yeah, their defensemen are struggling on the back line. But I mean, I don't really rate their back line either, so I'm not too surprised that
Mm.
three, um, yeah, that those 3 were there. But um, yeah, I mean, in saying that, you can fix it. You can fix that back line, right? It's probably similar to Buffalo, who are just ahead of them. They just need a couple of defensive defensemen to shore up that back line, um, and they'll be much better.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty. It's my pick now, isn't it, for 22? I've got
Sure
the
is.
Buffalo Sabres
Oh yeah,
moving up a couple positions.
just who we were talking about. I've got them there as well, number 22.
Yeah. Look, they get a good big win against San Jose, then they destroy the Blue Jackets. They take it to the Penguins. They lose in OT. Then on the back-to-back versing the Penguins, they lose against the Penguins. But Penguins have been amazing. So to give it to the Penguins, I think that's a very highly rated. Pushes them up in my
Mhm.
books. Just it's harder to push them above the teams from 21 onwards. I feel like 21 to about position 12, they're all interchangeable, kind of like yo-yo teams, but they're knocking on the door there.
Oh, for sure. I think if they can keep this momentum going and keep these wins coming, we'll see them climb. But I just want to see a bit more from them. Um, the teams around them aren't doing much either. So if they can keep this going, we will see them move. Yeah, the 2 losses against Pittsburgh, you can't really take from them. Um, they, they win both games.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and that's all you can ask for against a team like Pittsburgh, who are absolutely dominating at the moment. Um, so yeah, good signs from Buffalo. Again, I think it's just one of what we just touched on, similar to Montreal, is getting a couple of those defensive defensemen that can just really shore up that D and help their goaltenders out.
And just thought an interesting stat. They got three out of in the top 15 for even strength points with Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner, and Alex Tuck. So they're doing it.
Mm,
They're getting it done on 5-on-5, which is good. All
and
right,
that's it. That's
your
what you want.
your pick.
All right, pick 21. I didn't realize how far these guys moved down for me. So I've got the Los Angeles Kings at 21. Um, I don't think it's on the back of anything they're doing. I don't overly like their game, but I think it's just more of the teams around them have performed a lot better.
Yeah, I got them at 20. Like I said, it's this is the yo-yo part of the board. It's
Yeah,
and they're probably one of the best examples of a yo-yo season. They win it again today against Montreal. They get destroyed by Toronto, but it is Toronto. But they got the win against Ottawa, so they go 2 for 1, 2 out of 3, sorry, which is pretty good. It's hard to drop them on that kind of record, but it's just the teams around
well,
them
you
what
take
they've
that.
done. It's just the teams around them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's not their performances. It's more the teams around them. Um, but yeah, we'll see how they go. I mean, if they keep winning 2 out of 3 every week, they're going to move up the rankings. But yeah, I think this week there's just a few other teams around them
yeah.
doing a bit more than they are.
Yeah, it's
Um,
two players in the top 10 with defensive giveaways with Matt Roy and Sean Dursey. So they need to
mm,
sort that out. That is why they're a yo-yo team. There's just too many giveaways, especially in the defensive zone.
yeah.
Alrighty, on mine onto number 20. When I have the Nashville Predators.
Oh, you really did. Wow. All right, you did
Yes.
punish them. That's. Oh, I mean, they've come down for me, but I've got them at 17.
17. Yeah, see, I yo-yoed with that. I would just actually make a correction, actually. I've missed a team. Boom. I actually missed a team, but we'll get to it. It'll be your next pick, most likely.
Oh, mate, come on, get your shit together, eh?
19 and 20. Um, yeah, I'll just talk about the Nashville Predators. It's nothing against them, really. It's just I think other teams have done better this week, and it's hard to push.
Yeah.
I yo-yoed with them on with the LA. It's just I look. They've just had such a bad start to the season, and now they're starting to look good. But they need to. They've lost two out of their 2 games this week. One of them is kind of a guaranteed loss, but I would have liked to have seen them get that second win, the second game win.
Against Ottawa. Yeah, look, because of how much I rate Ottawa, and them as a team, I didn't punish them too much. They had to go down because the teams around them performing better. But yeah, given their recent form, I gave them a bit of leeway. If they keep these sort of performances up and they lose, all 3 or 4 games that they're playing next week, then yeah, they'll probably find themselves around that 20th. But for now, this is as far as I could go.
Yeah. Um. Alrighty, onto your pick.
All right. Pick 20. It's kind of gone all over the place here. But yeah, pick 20 for me is the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, that's the one. Moving down a couple
Pick
positions for
21.
me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I teetered dropping them below Los Angeles. I'll admit that. Los Angeles were ahead of them before the week started. But I don't know. I didn't mind Calgary's week. They lost 4-5 in OT to Toronto. I really think they should have won this game. The loss against Columbus was their real only downfall of the week. Beating Arizona, beating Minnesota, and then the OT loss against probably the most informed side in the NHL at the moment, Toronto. But yeah, that Columbus Blue Jackets, if they got the win there, I would have seen them probably climb a few more positions,
Yep.
um, than rather than fall a position.
Yeah.
They only fall the position because of other teams.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And if they did win that Columbus game, they definitely would be just outside the top 16. I think,
Yeah,
knocking on the door. But it's just that Columbus loss. But they moved down two. I don't feel like they should have moved down two in a sense. They should have stayed flat. But it's just other teams jumping them. That's it.
yeah,
Or
yeah, big time.
already on to number 18. I'll get it right this time. I've got the Florida Panthers.
Oh, yes. Yes, I finally get to say it. I was hoping I was going to be the one to call the Florida Panthers out, but I have them at pick 18 and they are finally out of my top 16.
Uh,
I hate it, but I also love it
oh, geez, they
because
moved down a
I've
lot.
wanted to do it.
You had
Yeah.
them pretty high
I've
last
wanted
week.
to do it for so long, man. I have wanted to do it for so long, but this week just gave me that chance.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Mm.
They're not playing where they should. They lose to
Oh, frustrating.
Winnipeg, destroy the Red Wings, and then they lose to Tampa. It was a tough week, but I feel like if you're going to be in the top 16 echelons, you should at least be taking it to Winnipeg and Tampa. And I don't feel like they're fully in those games. Like they're there, but they're not there.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, they played well against Tampa today. Um, Tampa won that game probably on the back of Vasilevsky.
Yeah, true, true.
If Vass wasn't in goal, that game probably ends up 6-4 Florida. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's tough. They came up against a good goaltender, 100%, but you know, I just I don't know what if this was the first time they come up against a good goaltender and they've been, lost 4-1 and it was like, oh, it looks bad, but it's worse than it was, then I could make a case not to drop them that far. But it's every week, man. Every week I sit there and think, oh, here we go. Florida are going to start up. They get a real good win against the team, 5-1, 6-1, or something like that. And then they lose.
Yep.
And then they lose again. And then they lose a game they shouldn't lose. And it's like, what are you, Florida? Because at the start of the year, I had them pegged for a top five and contending for the cup. And now, I I don't know. I still think they're going to make the playoffs easily, but with the way the East is, they may struggle to even get a wild card.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, there's a couple of things like just on regards to even strength points. Matthew Kachuk's number 8 in the league, 21 points, 25 games. But I thought I'd just also mention is I think it's a lot with their goalie tandem. Spencer
Mm.
Knight's been good, 15 games, 0.919 save percentage, but Bobrovsky 14 games and he's below 900 at 0.884, and I think that's where it's kind of going wrong with them is regards to
Mhm.
Bobrovsky. Like his goals save above expected is -7, whereas Spencer's +3.5. So I think they shouldn't be doing 50-50 with them, and I think they should be playing Spencer, make him the number one, and make your 10 million goalie your number two. It's a big call, but yeah,
And do you know what? They probably will do that, but it just shows you why handing a $10.5 million contract to a goaltender may not be the smartest decision.
yeah, it's only
Because
worked
it's
with
a lot of money.
Vasilevsky, and that's it.
Well, and you can't really say it's worked with Vasilevsky yet either, because
I
I'm
I think
pretty
two
sure
two
he won
two
his
cups.
cups before his contract.
Oh, it's like oh, jeez, God, I'm going blank.
Uh,
Colorado Avalanche, McKinnon,
McKinnon,
where you just
yeah,
basically pay him before winning the cup. That's it.
yeah. But still, Vasilevsky was 9.5 as well. So it's a million less. He had two cups. Did he sign before the second one? I
I
can't
I
remember.
think
But
he was on
either way,
he was on big money when the second one.
yeah, either way. I mean, Vasilevsky's still under 10 mil. Um, he's won his two cups. He gets paid. But Bobrovsky hadn't won a cup. He hadn't. Yeah, I don't know. I never agreed with that one,
Yeah,
and it's really biting Florida in the backside right now.
Yeah, I'm glad New Jersey
Um,
because New Jersey were in the running for him, but once I saw that signing, I was like, yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. So unfortunately, Florida
yeah,
got
for
to eat
sure.
that, and I think Spencer Knight is the number one as it is right now. On to your pick 19.
Yeah, I would be, yeah, going forward with him for sure. Pick 19, making a massive comeback like we said they would. Washington Capitals, getting some players back, putting up some really, really solid performances. Um, yeah, it's hard not to move them up the table really
Yeah,
high. I think you were a bit higher than them
yeah, I'm a bit
on
higher
them
than them.
last week than I was, but we've both moved them up 5 positions, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
They
Well, like
they
I said,
make the East look even more dangerous now.
yeah, well, there's 6 teams vying for it now, and if you're Rangers, Islanders, geez, even up to New Jersey, you're worried.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
fall off at any
100%.
point this season, you're probably not making the playoffs. There's 6 teams pushing
Hmm.
for it. In regards to the Capitals, I think they're back. They like watching their games. They look like the Capitals that have been destroying in the past, and that's
Hmm.
why they go 3-0 this week. I for any other teams going up against them, I'm fearful. And
Hmm.
I think even in the games that they've been losing recently, they're looking very good. So I think by next week, I reckon I would have them in my top 16 if they keep this momentum.
Definitely potential. They've got a tough week next week, I will say. They've got Winnipeg, Dallas, and Toronto. So it might not happen for them next week, but
I
I
won't I
mean,
won't be
hey,
surprised if they win 2 out of 3. Honestly, with the way they're playing.
yeah, but that's it, right? I mean, they get 5 or 6 points next week, and you've got to take that as a win for them, especially against the opponents they're playing. Um, they've got Chicago in between that, which helps them out a little bit. But out of those 4 games, man, if they get 6 points, I'd I'd classify that as a win. Um,
Alrighty, on to
yeah,
16, which is now the top 16 playoffs.
yeah. I think this is the first week in a while, in a few weeks, where we have had the same teams in the top 16. None have differed.
Yeah, good point. Good
It's
point.
huge.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
number 16, just making it. It's got the New York Rangers
Oh, see,
+1.
I'm much higher on them than this. This was my big move.
Yep.
They moved a lot for you, but you might be surprised at this. Number 12.
I'll let you talk about it. Your reasoning.
I just I've been high on them all year. I just just putting this out here there as a New Jersey fan, I hate the Rangers. Like I don't like the Rangers. I love seeing them lose, but I was high on them all year. I thought their biggest letdowns were going to be if Shesterkin could stand up to last year's pace, and Kreider could do what he did as well. So I thought they could slip a little bit, but not as far as they had been. And just in the last few games, I've started to notice just a just a bit better play from them on not just the forward side, but a bit on the defensive side of things as well, which is why I've moved them up so far. Um, I just think they're being a bit more accountable, and if they can be accountable defensively, that'll help Halak get the extra wins. And Shesterkin will just keep doing what Shesterkin does. And they should slowly move back into that top 10, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, that is the issue though. They've got that tandem is how much do you weigh on Shesterkin, and then
Mm.
that's you basically got to ride him to the playoffs, and they win 3 out of 3 this week though. Colorado game was a shootout game, so call that what you will. Basically a draw, but yeah, like you said, they're back.
Mhm.
I'm high on them. Same with the Capitals. I just got to see another week before I push them and the Capitals that high. But on to your
Yeah,
next
fair
pick.
enough. All right, pick 16. Um, this one was difficult. Um, I didn't like pushing them out of the top 16 last week, so I was very happy to push them back in. But yeah, it's Detroit Red Wings.
Ooh, okay. See, this is where I knew we were going to flip flop here. I've actually got them at 12.
Oh,
Yes, I think
yeah.
they've been the more consistent yo-yo team, um, if you can call it that. And
Yep.
that's why I've got them up there. I like what I see from when they play good and strong. It's good hockey. It's just when they have those defensive laps. But like they defeat Columbus 4-2, then they go defeat Tampa 4-2, and that's what really did it was the Tampa game.
The
Uh,
Tampa win.
they
Yeah.
get destroyed by Florida, but it's Detroit. They're going to yo-yo, and then they go against Dallas and they take it to Dallas and it goes to OT. But they lose in OT, but it's basically a draw. So two what I would say top 10 teams, and they take it to them. Defeat
Hmm.
a team that you should in Columbus, but you it's Detroit. They lose to Florida, so I moved them up a bit. It's like I said, 12 to 21. That's kind of the midfield yo-yo team league,
Yeah.
and I think they're at the top of it at the moment.
Yep. Nah, look, I teetered with what to do with them as well. It's very hard from that 12 to, yeah, 22. It's so hard. Like there's so many teams that you can make cases to be above the other teams. Whether it's on the current week's form or the last 2 or 3 weeks form, or if it's the season's form. Um, they're just yo-yoing so badly. And so yeah, for Detroit, I like what they do, but given how much they yo-yo and how quickly they can go from beating a team 5-1 to losing to a team 5-1, I just had to have them on the edge.
Yep. No, I agree. I understand that. Alrighty, on to my pick, which is position 15. I have Minnesota Wild.
Oh, oh, I'm interested to see where you've got my 15. Minnesota's are only one sort of pick ahead for me at 14,
You
but
make it
I am
like you
interested
had
to see.
Minnesota in top 10. Like,
Nah, I wanted to. I really want to know where you've got my pick 15 because
well, you'll find out
I'm not
next.
sure. Yeah. Um, but look, Minnesota. I still feel like they're Minnesota. They're better, but they're still
Yep.
not quite where I expected them to be.
No,
Um,
I agree. A shootout win against Dallas. They lose to Calgary. Then they lose to Edmonton. But then they 3-0 Vancouver. It's kind of a Minnesota like the season they've had type of week.
yep.
It's
Hmm.
uh it's the fact they took it to Dallas, which was good. They were kind of in the they were in the Calgary game, and they were kind of in the Oilers game, and that's what I'm liking to see. Is that they're in the games, whereas at the start of the season they kind of weren't in some of them, but I think they're starting to show up. It's they still moved down one because it was 50-50 week for them.
Yeah, and the thing with the Oilers as well is the Oilers are just that sort of team that they can just turn it on like that. Like we've seen the Oilers. They can beat a team 6-2, or they can lose to a team freaking 6-4.
Yeah,
Like they're a team that can
yeah,
score back crazy goals out of nowhere. And like you've touched on the power play. The second you give them power plays, they will just bury goals on teams. But yeah, I liked what I saw from Minnesota, but I need to see them probably win one more of those, like either win the Calgary game or win the Edmonton game, and then I think we'll start to see them sort of be the Minnesota team we thought they would be. Um,
yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Alrighty, your pick number 15, the one you
right.
want me to
Pick 15.
want to see.
I swear, if yours is pick 14, I'm going to be disappointed. But I'm not because I reckon that's where they should be. But I thought maybe you were holding off on them a little bit. Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, no, I thought this was the team you were talking about. I actually have him at 13.
Or okay, not too bad. A little bit higher. Um, yeah,
Yeah, you
I
you
don't even
were
think
you were
it's the
higher on
team.
them last week as well. So
Yeah,
you seem to be overcorrecting where I'm in the middle. Just I don't
yeah.
know.
I just I didn't want to punish them too much because of the team they had been and the injuries that they had. Oh, they're still suffering.
Mm,
Um, but they had a shocking week. I don't think it's going to get better for them anytime soon, especially with the injury news. Um, but yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do when basically your only healthy player is Rantanen?
Yeah.
Or healthy forward, sorry, is
The
Rantanen.
the thing I'll say, like, even though they had like a results wise bad week, I feel like they're in it on every game, even playing AHL squad. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's the big difference. I think any other team that has this type of injury plague generally falls off a cliff.
Gets
And
blown out and blown to
like
pieces.
the big game was the Philly game. They lose that, but they were in
Mhm,
it the whole game. They lose to
mhm.
Boston. I think almost, of course, you're going to lose to Boston with all those injuries. And then they
Yep.
go to shootout against New York, and honestly, they destroyed New York. They outplayed them, I think, and that that's why I couldn't push them down too much. Is they were in every game. They didn't get the results, but you know, one of the teams, top five team in the league, the other
Mhm.
team, top 16. So you've got them at 12. I couldn't push them down too far for that.
Yeah, I was never pushing him out of my top 16. I just yeah, I thought I teetered on having them at 13 with the two teams that I've got above them now, maybe being below still. But I just yeah, I don't know. I thought, yeah, they're just struggling, and I think they're gonna continue to struggle, obviously until they get their players back.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
yeah, it'll be
Alrighty.
interesting.
Pick 14 for me. Team I hate having here. It's the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, I knew who you were talking about before.
Yeah.
You even finished that sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can ramble and ramble and ramble on them. People probably think I hate the Oilers. I just wanted to point one stat out. Like, even strength points, Connor McDavid isn't even in the top 10. He's at 20th with 17 points in 28 games. For
Mhm,
someone that high with, 54 points in, 27, 28 games or whatever it is, you should be in the top 10, I think. Um,
mhm.
that's what worries me. In regards to defensive giveaways, no surprise to see Darnell Nurse at number two in the league with 28.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a lovely 9.5 mil.
yeah, yeah. It's probably one of the worst, if not the worst, contract in the league at the moment. And then Evan Bouchard, number eight in the league with 21 defensive giveaways, and that's their gripe. Really, you got so much money tied up front. You get one bad contract on the team, and you can't do anything about it. And I don't
Mhm,
like the way they play. They play one line. I think their power play bails them out of games and gets them wins that they should not be winning.
yep,
And and then just the Connor McDavid Draisaitl thing where they'll score a goal where a normal team wouldn't or couldn't. And I think that's just what bails them out. But ultimately, I don't like
mm.
the one line, counter attacking gameplay that they have, or just rely on power plays.
Yeah, well, I mean, that like that stat you just said, about the even strength points, it is really alarming for them because it should just show teams, you wanna beat them, just keep them off of the power play.
Yeah,
Just stay out of the
I
box.
was going to make that point, but it goes on to the point that the refing in this league is horrendous. That you ultimately can't just do that
Yeah,
because penalties get called for things that aren't penalties, and yeah,
yeah.
so that's why
And things
I
that
wanted
are
to make that point.
penalties don't get called.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. The amount of times I see something and it's like, um, you just watch it and you're like, "That's a penalty." Okay, no call. And then you watch 2 seconds later, they've got their arm up, they're given a penalty. It might be to the same team that they didn't give the penalty to initially, and you're like, "Oh, well, it works out." But it's also like, "Hang on a second, it might work out, but that's still not okay." Like, just
exactly.
because you miss the first penalty does not mean that you give a penalty that's not there. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing so much of it. I'm seeing so much of yeah, and it's just the NHL, especially with that hockey stick to the back of uh, is it
It was
who's the LA player?
LA Kings player.
Yeah, it was I can't remember his name, but Jersey or Jersey, I think. Yeah, he cops a he cops a hockey stick to the back of the head by Evgal from the Leafs, and he gets the guy gets
Mm,
one game for smacking someone in the back of the head with a hockey stick, and someone like Slafkovsky gets 2 games for boarding someone.
yeah,
Like, I'm sorry, but get your shit together, NHL. Like, that's terrible.
yeah.
But yeah,
No, I agree,
we should
and
move on.
but that's why I can't say that just don't take penalties against them because you can't control that. You have no idea what the rest are
Y-
going to do that night. But anyway,
Yeah,
on to your
true.
11.
All right, pick number 11. Oh, I don't know. This one for me, I thought I'd be seeing them move up a lot further, but I kept landing with them at number 11.
Hmm.
New York Islanders.
Yeah, that's where I've got
They
them.
got Yeah, I don't know, like, I couldn't move them. They had such a good win against the Devils, but I couldn't move them. Like,
Yeah, like
the rest of their week wasn't that great, and they got smacked today by Carolina.
yeah. Well,
But
they get a shutout win against the Blackhawks, but Blackhawks don't score goals, so that's whatever.
mm,
Saint they get destroyed by St. Louis, which is what
yep,
really hurt. Then they go against the Devils. They defeat the Devils. A good win, really good win. But on a
mhm,
back to back, and this is why I don't take the Carolina game too hard, is on a back to back, and you're versing two top 10 teams, and they get shut out.
it's
So
tough. Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand that completely, especially when Carolina had like 3 days of rest. So
yeah,
if they won that, would have shot them
and
up
that
heavily.
Devils game was tough for them.
Yeah,
The interesting thing I'll touch on that Devils game was New York Islanders just showed how taking your chances can change a game, because the first period they got dominated, but they ended the period 2-1 up. They probably should have been 3-0 down, but they put their only 2 chances in the back of the net, and all of a sudden it's 2-1. They start the second period, it was pretty similar. They weren't blowing the Devils away in that first 5 minutes, but they put another 2 chances in the back of the net. And I think they had probably had 5 or 6 chances and had 4 goals at this point. Whereas in the Devils probably had 10 plus and only had the 1.
yeah,
So it was like, okay, it was 4-1, but they had just capitalized on pretty much every chance they got, whereas in the Devils didn't.
yeah.
And
Well,
I don't
they
put
watched the
that down
Arizona
to goaltending either.
they watched the Arizona Boston game, and then they took Arizona's
They
page
took
of the
it. They
book.
took a less. Yeah, exactly. Put the puck in the back of the net, and you don't need 40 shots on net. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting because I felt like they conceded. It's funny because they scored 4 goals when they probably weren't the better team, and then from then on, they took over the game until that last 7 minutes where the Devils pulled the goal in and took over possession. But they dominated that part, and they scored 2, conceded 2.
Yeah,
So it's just an interesting thing where, like, you don't always have to be the dominant team, but if you can bury your chances, that'll win you the game.
yeah. It's simplicity, really, isn't it?
Mhm.
Alrighty, on to the top 10. A little bit shaken up this week in regards to the top 10. It feels bad demoting this team so much, but I did. It's the Seattle Kraken.
Bang. How's that?
All right. Well, that's good to see. We both had them in the same spot last week, both dropping 5. Looks like so far our top 11's looking the same. Uh, yeah, they've just been a little bit shakier. Uh, with their games, the 4-2 loss against Montreal, but they should have won that game. Like really, like you give 16 shots against. It's kind of like the Arizona. They should have won that. They get outplayed by Washington, and then Washington are a new beast. But to be top 5, you got to be giving it to them as well, in my opinion. So going 0 for 2 for the week, it's a bit rough.
Yeah, I think normally, and they've lost their last 3, but they've lost their last 3 games quite heavily. Um,
Hmm.
and for me, it's just, yeah, it's only 2 games, and most teams that lose 2 games, I wouldn't punish this badly. But there were 2 games that they should have probably either won or been in the game a lot better than they were. They should have beaten Montreal. And that Washington game, if you're gonna lose, you need to at least be in the game. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I
Eh,
hope this isn't the
I, I
wheels falling off for them.
I don't think it is.
But yeah,
I think it's hard to stay in the top 10, play that consistent hockey. And I
well,
just
their next 4 games are tough, man.
yeah.
They're really tough.
But I think they've got I think they've got a good play style. But
Yeah,
one thing I do want to point on, I don't like their goaltending. Neither goaltender or Martin Jones or Grubauer are over .900 and save
no,
percentage.
no,
And
no.
I understand when you concede, was it 8 against LA, it's gonna hurt your
Yeah,
percentages. But I just thought I'd point that one out.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't expecting either of them to be over 900 either.
No,
Um,
I think Jones
but
has
yeah,
played really good this season, but just still not
yeah,
even above 900.
no. All
You're
right,
9.
P9 for me. Yeah, Carolina Hurricanes. Feel like they should be higher, but they just they're not exactly getting it done
Yeah,
constantly or consistently.
I've got them at 8. Um, yeah,
Right.
it's kind of that similar situation I've been in the last few weeks, really, isn't it? They just they feel not right, but they get results. Um,
Well, they lose against Anaheim,
in
and then
OT because
they
Anaheim
smoke
can't
New
win
York.
in regulation, but that was a big loss.
Yeah,
But then they
yeah, it's big time.
defeat New York, but New York's on a back to back, so I couldn't really move them too much
Mhm.
because of it, and it's just really because Seattle just they just jumped Seattle. That was basically it for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Alrighty, my
All right,
pick 9. I have the team that's jumping up. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins.
a bit higher on them. I've got them at number 7.
Number 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand it. I think they're back. I think the having them at number 1 in the first week kind of it's getting back to normalization for them.
Hmm.
Um, I
Hmm.
th- yeah, I think they're back. They're kind of like Washington. They're putting everything together. Sidney Crosby's been absolutely amazing. You know, he's
Yep.
number 2 in the league for even strength points. I don't think he gets talked about enough. 23 points in 27 games, even strength.
Now
And
he gets talked about a lot, but it's not for the good things he does. He gets
mm,
talked about in, yeah, what I think is just a um what do you call it, a jealousy
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, which I
Yeah.
don't get, and that's why I rate him very high. You know, even more than McDavid because he does it during 5-on-5, which you need to do.
Hmm.
I don't need a special player comes on and just scores goals on power play. Their goalies are getting it done as well. Both above 900. Jari 919 and D Smith 908. So
Hmm.
they're getting it from the goaltending as well.
It's been solid, and they're putting it together. They're 10-1-1 in their last 12. Um, the downturn that we saw, I don't think anyone really expected that to continue. It's good to see them bounce back, and crazy to think Letang's probably going to play in the next, yeah,
Mm.
as soon as the next game, really, but probably sometime over the next week. So they're only going to get better.
Alrighty, your pick 8.
Right, pick 8 for me. Um, they're not really doing anything wrong. They've been really good all season. I know you're a bit higher on them than I am, but I've got the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, not much more, just number 7. Um, they
They
moved down.
moved down for you.
Yeah, they moved down for me. I was higher on them last week. It's yeah, they're always in it. They got destroyed by Toronto, which really did it, and then they go to shootout against the Wild. Those are the 2 games that really did it. And you look at their games this week, like 3 of them would go to OT. 2 of them
Mhm.
against, so one against Ottawa and one against Detroit. So I feel like they should be winning those in regulation. It's
Yep.
good. It's good to show that they're in it all game, even the Wild game. But they need to win those in regulation, I think.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And yeah, I mean the Toronto one, it's a blemish, but also Toronto have been doing that to a lot of teams. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I still think they're a very good side. Um, I
yeah. And
just yeah.
my my worry about them, I don't really wouldn't say a worry. It's actually a good thing. They're getting good goaltending. Sorry, so it's not really a
Mm,
worry. But Ottinger's been great. I think Wedgwood's stepped up. Yeah, he's been good. They're 5-2 and
solid
3.
backup.
Yeah, solid backup. He's playing really well, honestly, for a backup.
Mhm.
In regards to Eland strength points, they got two players in the top 10 in the league. Jason Robertson, who's been absolutely amazing and on a flyer, and then
Yep.
Rupe Hintz. Those two playing together is really good. I'm really high on Robertson. I
Mhm.
know
Especially
everyone's,
for that contract.
especially for that contract, and that's the difference really between McDavid and other players. Is these players are doing really really good things 5-on-5 and getting those points up, but they're on better contracts.
Mhm. They're not on 12 point whatever $1 million a
12,
year.
12 and a
And I
half.
get it.
Yeah.
I get it. He's a superstar, but he hasn't won him a cup yet. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
No, I don't think it does.
So,
I was watching a podcast the other day, and they did make a good point where he's basically just got to go to management and be like, all right, you make these trades, these decisions or something, or I'm out. And
mhm,
I don't think he realizes he has that power, or he doesn't want to wield it. But you kind of,
mhm.
I think he's got to flick that gear.
He's got to, otherwise he's gonna leave as a either leave as a free agent. Yeah, if he wants to stay at Edmonton his whole career and win a cup, they've got it. I think when he's up for contract negotiations, he's got to take a pay cut, and B, he's got to force them to make certain changes to this side and actually get in some defensive D men to be accountable on that back end.
Yeah. Alrighty, on to my number six, top six. I have a team that's just falling off a little bit. It's the Vegas Golden Knights.
To actually move up for me. Um, I had him a little
Yeah,
bit
you had
lower
them as
last
seven
week.
last week.
Um, they move up one. I was impressed with them this week. It was a week that really could have gone badly for them. They played Boston, they played New York, um, and then they played Philly. So, I mean, I probably expected it to be the flip of the New York Boston results.
Mm,
But at the same time, they could have lost both of those games, and it could
yeah,
have
like they
gone downhill.
taking Bruins to OT, it's great, but they were getting destroyed in that game, I think. And then
Mm,
the Rangers game, they were destroyed, and then the Philly game, you're taking Philly the OT, and it doesn't really do much for me. So that's why they moved down a bit.
mm,
For me to number six, and it looks like we're pretty even, both having them at number six. So
yeah.
I'm pretty happy with that. In regards to their goaltending, they're getting good goaltending, which no, but I don't think anybody suspected at the start of the season. Both over
Nah,
900,
not with Leonard out. That's
yeah,
for sure.
both over 900. Thompson 918 and Hill 914. So they're both getting it done. So they can run both
Hmm.
goalies.
Yeah, it's good. But that's the other thing as well, is given that they are two real unknowns, that could be where it starts to fall away from them.
Mm.
If they can't keep that momentum, they could definitely start to fall down.
All right,
But yeah, we'll see in the coming weeks.
on to number five.
All right, pick five for me. I have a feeling you're going to have them here as well. And it's funny because they move down for me, but they move up for you. It's Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, that's where I got them. I know,
I
I
did
know,
have a feeling.
I know how to do my power rankings, boy.
um, yeah, look, I they didn't really do much wrong. I just think the team above them did a bit more this week, and I think it was, yeah, the loss against the Red Wings at the start of the week, the only blemish, but it did just drop them that one position for me. But they're still looking very solid. Um, their players are turning up. They're not just getting one or two players doing all the work. They're getting a pretty consistent um, four lines. They're three defensive pairings, and obviously when you've got the beast like Vasilevsky in net, it makes life a bit easier.
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
there's definitely no reason they couldn't contend for another cup and a fourth straight Stanley Cup appearance.
yeah. I hope Vasilevsky's turning around, but he's only a .909 save percentage, so he isn't having the standout season that he normally has. And the backup Elliott's only .895, so he's not even above 900. Uh, I look, Kucherov's kind of doing the McDavid and Draisaitl, like half his points are on the power play. It's I still rate them very highly. I love Point. I think he's one of my favorite players. It's they
Very
had a good
solid.
they had a good week. I just think yeah, I'm not as sold on them as I see other people are, and I got to be swayed over. I think, but
Hmm.
we both got them at 5. All right, on to number 4. I think going to be similar here. Don't even have to look. It's going to be the
Yeah,
Winnipeg Jets.
yeah, yeah. Got them there as well.
Yeah,
Surprising. I will say that at the start of the year, I thought they would be wild card sort of in that hunt. I didn't think they'd be this high up.
yeah. Well, they go 4-0 for the week. Like you said, didn't think they'd be this high up at the start of the season. I did. I actually a lot of the people who had them outside the playoffs. I didn't quite understand. I know they didn't change much of their core from last year's, but I rated them one of the better teams in the West.
Hmm.
But there's definitely outperforming even my expectations. Uh,
Yeah.
on them in regards to their goaltending, I just like to point out, like Colin Hellebuck's probably is easily like top 5 in the league at the moment. And they're
Mm,
they're riding him to the playoffs. Riddick has only played 6 games. He's .893. So basically, if Hellebuck stays healthy, they can ride into the playoffs. Uh, Defensive giveaways, though, this is actually quite surprising. They're the only team in the top 10 to have defensive giveaways players in the top 10 in the league, and that's number 5 and number 7, Nate Schmidt and Josh
mhm.
Morrissey. And that's what worries
Yeah.
me, and I think that's where Hellebuck covers a lot of their mishaps.
Yeah, that'd be the concern if you're a Winnipeg fan is your defense. Hellebuck does cover a lot of that, and I think we've said that a few times.
Mm.
But in saying that, a lot of teams that win the cup, it's off the back of a goaltender just playing out of his mind. I mean, besides Colorado last year, you look at some of the past ones, Jonathan Quick for Los Angeles, Vasilevsky for Tampa Bay, even Holtby played really well when Washington won.
Mm.
Binnington for St. Louis, like it
Murray for
comes off the back
Penguins.
of a Murray for Pittsburgh, yeah. It comes off the back of one of those type of performances, which Hellebuck could do.
I
And
think he
so
could easily. It's
yeah, um,
they'd ride him every game in the playoffs if they make it. All
the
right.
question is how much can he handle? I think, but all right, on to that pick number 3. Um, honestly, these guys could be number 1 as soon as next week. But given the other two's performances through the year, I had to leave them here at 3 as the Toronto Maple Leafs. But my God, they're coming. They're looking very good, and yeah, I think this was the only week that I sort of could hold back the Boston, New Jersey 1 and 2 before Toronto sort of overtake them, especially if Boston and New Jersey lose a game or two next week and Toronto don't, because
Yeah. Well,
they're looking mighty good.
the team's on a 14-game point streak. Like they haven't lost in regulation in
Yep.
14 games. Mana's on a 22-game point streak. I'd say they probably got the best goalie tandem in the league at the moment with Samsonov and Murray, which is you know, there's still
I
scares
would
with
have
the
thought.
injuries, but both at
Hmm.
.933 and .932. Uh, like so they can play them 50-50. And then that will stem them from getting injured, I would say. But Murray does get driven a lot. I've seen in their games,
Hmm.
so that does worry me. Um, but they're getting the best goalie tandem in the league at the moment. Their forwards are on fire. Everything seems to be clicking, and they've hit the same bracket as Boston, New Jersey talks. But I couldn't put them
Yep.
above them because they had such a rough start to the season, and Boston and New Jersey have been fire pretty much from the get go. So
Yeah.
yeah, but like you said, next week they could be anywhere from 1 to 3, even 4. Honestly, if Jets keep doing what they do and Maple Leafs fall off, so it's a good sign for the Leafs, and
Mhm.
I can definitely see them going to number one next week, but not yet.
Yeah, I think it's just one more week. See how they go. But yeah, if they keep playing the way they are, they're 100%
Mm,
probably moving into that number one spot. If especially if Boston and New Jersey have a blemish next week.
yeah. All right.
All
On
right,
on to
this is
pick
where it gets interesting.
Yes, on to pick two. Let's see if we switched them, because I may or may not have
Yeah.
switched after our conversation. And I have still number two, the Boston Bruins. I've switched them around.
Oh wow.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
I've made the call. It's purely on the fact they go 1-2 this week. They lose to Arizona. Not only lose to Arizona, but they lose in regulation. Sure, they dominated the game. New Jersey
One
go one.
one mistake.
Yeah, New Jer-
One mistake. That's what I'll say. That
yeah.
was shocking.
But it's been
Um,
close between Boston and New Jersey all year, and
mhm.
it's look. Then the other loss they had, it was a shootout loss, so it's a draw. And they did
Yep.
dominate that game, but I just had to push them down just because of that Arizona loss.
Yep. No, and look, I understand that, and I get that. I think I probably would have done the same thing had New Jersey beaten the Islanders. Um, they beat Chicago 3-0. They did it pretty easily and quite convincingly, but it's Chicago. Um, and given they only played the two games, if they had played three, maybe four, and they'd gone 3-1, potentially would have done it as well. But for now, I didn't see enough from New Jersey this week to give them that number one spot. Um, I even was tempted to put Toronto at number one given how they're playing, but I just wanted to give it another week. But right now, 100% those three teams with the Jets hanging on that outskirt, those three teams are definitely the three best teams in the league.
Yeah. Um, in regards to Boston, they probably got one of the best goalies in the league at the moment, like playing anyway. But they do have probably one of the best defenses in front of them, and Allmark is a .939 at soar, the best in the league besides Akira Schmid for the New Jersey Devils, but he's only played 6 games. Um, Swayman is my issue though. 10 games and he's below 900, and that's my question mark. Is are they going to have to do a Winnipeg and just ride Allmark or whatnot? And my other thing was well, we get to the other step, but even strength points of what New Jersey have, but Boston don't.
Mm,
Um, I guess we could move on to New Jersey then. I'd say they
yeah,
probably got the second best goalie tandem in the league at the moment. With Vanacek, he's pushing for Vesna, and then Akira Schmid, who's outperforming by a mile. He's got a .94 save percentage. Sure, he's only played 6 games, but he's looked really good in those 6 games. Especially,
and he's won.
mm,
Right? Like he's won all six of these. Oh,
yeah,
I think he's won five. He didn't. The loss against the Islanders doesn't go against his name.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, he's looked very good.
yeah, and he was a third string going into this season. He's probably at this point replacing Blackwood,
Hmm.
which throws up to consideration if Blackwood gets traded, and then what team needs a goalie. I think a lot of teams do, so that will be interesting coming up. But the reason why I push New Jersey higher, it's a thing I've noticed, and that's why I brought up the stats, is even strength points. New Jersey have three, just like Buffalo, players in the top 15 in the league, and that's Jack
Yeah,
Hughes at 5, Nico at 12, and Brad at 14. And that's the thing; they're getting it done 5-on-5. They're outplaying teams. They're getting the defensive work, and they're not having to rely on power play. I think their power play is ranked like 21 in the league at the moment at 21%, um, which is completely opposite to something like Edmonton with and Colorado with 30%, or something like that, power plays. So They're getting it done 5-on-5, and that's what I like to see from a team that's doing good.
Yeah, 100%. And that's it. Like when you're getting points, even strength, you're not depending on getting like penalties going your way because the second a team plays, good clean hockey and they stay out of the box, it changes your whole game plan basically. If you can't score 5-on-5.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, it's good to see. I think the Devils are still doing pretty good, even though they've had a couple of losses. They're still 5-2-1 since the Toronto loss. Which you'll take that record 5-2-1 throughout the season. You're playing playoffs every day of the week. You're probably one of the best teams in
yep.
the league.
Well,
Um,
they have to with the division they're in. That's the thing. Even
mhm,
even Boston, somewhat like these teams have to maintain the rate they're going at.
yeah, it's crazy. Like I don't expect them to be, what are they, 25, 21, 5-1. I don't think they have to maintain that, but five, that 5-2-1 record or 7-2-1 in the last 10, they need to sort of mimic those as close as they can because if they don't, especially with teams like Washington, New York Islanders, Pittsburgh chasing them, whew, they
Mm.
could they could drop out pretty quickly, which is incredible to think given how far ahead they are.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I think the top 11 is separated from 12th. There's a bit of a gap there from 11 to 12, and you look at
mhm,
that, and there's four Metro teams in there. I think there's three Atlantic, and what does that leave? Four Western teams. Um, and I think that sums up where the balance is between the conferences. And I think it's a bit
yeah,
unfair for the
100%.
Metro and Atlantic teams that you're going to probably
Mhm.
see two, uh, maybe more, really, really good teams that should be in playoffs and would be competing, miss out. And it's purely just because of the division they're in.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think you've probably got 10 teams. Like, I didn't think I would be saying this about New Jersey to start the season as, having them as a contender, but you kind of can't not at the moment. But you've probably got 6 teams in the Metro who could contend for a cup. And you've probably got 4 teams in the Atlantic that are contending for a cup. That's 10 teams. And
Yep.
you've only got 8 that are going to make playoffs. So 2 teams that you could consider as like Stanley Cup contenders aren't going to make playoffs in that Eastern Division conference.
Yep.
Whereas in the West, it's a little bit easier. Yeah, okay. You look at the Central with Winnipeg, Dallas, Minnesota, Colorado, even Nashville and St. Louis to an extent, but I don't think it's as dangerous as those Eastern conferences. Because the teams we left out in the Atlantic, Detroit, Montreal, Buffalo, and Ottawa, are all really good young teams.
Mm. Yeah, well, Detroit's
Could
definitely
do
trying
damage.
for that card spot. And
Mm,
Buffalo, honestly, they could be a sleeping giant if they kick it in gear. They've got the team. They've been playing well, and even Ottawa. It's just how long till they kick it in gear? If they wait too long, then points wise they're just out. But honestly,
yeah.
if they flick that gear, which I think they can because they both play good hockey, in Buffalo
Yeah.
and Ottawa, they can easily push in.
They've those 2 divisions, like, the Atlantic is scary for me. Um, Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Florida, we all know that they're powerhouses. Who knows how long Boston have left? But Toronto are still gonna be up there for a while. Tampa Bay aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Florida, I know they're having a down year, but they're still a powerhouse team. And then you throw in the likes of Ottawa, Buffalo, Montreal, and Detroit, who are all young and up and coming teams. That's one hell of a division, man.
Hmm.
Especially when you look at some of like the Pacific in the West, where you look and go, I don't know which one of you like which one of them are even going to be considered as Stanley Cup contenders. I still have question marks about Vegas, and Vegas are their best shot.
Oh,
So
I'd almost say
yeah,
Dallas are their best shot. Um,
Dallas is in the Central, man.
oh, Central. Sorry.
Um,
Oh, we're just talking. I thought we
yeah,
were talking West and East, not.
nah, just purely Pacific. the Central have more contenders. They've got the likes of Winnipeg, Dallas, Minnesota, and Colorado, but Pacific, I mean, I don't consider Edmonton a contender.
No,
Uh,
I don't consider
the
LA a
Kings aren't.
contender. Seattle,
Seattle's not.
I don't think a contender. They're contending for a playoff spot easily. Um,
Yes,
but Edmonton, I don't have in there. The only one I could say is a contender, and the team hasn't been there, is Calgary,
I agree,
and that
potentially.
and that's only if they kicked it in gear and got
Yeah.
their stuff together. But I think on paper and what they're trying to put together, they could be a contender. Um, but they're not putting it together, so I can't say that at the moment. So
No, exactly.
so
But
yeah.
hey, look, it's definitely a whirlwind of a season so far. The power rankings are keeping us on our toes. It doesn't seem like anything stays too steady for too long at the moment. There's a lot of movement week in, week out. Um, I'm hoping for our sake, it levels out soon enough because I'm getting sick and tired of racking my brain every week. Um, but no, it's been good so far. Crazy to see finally Boston knocked off on one of ours rankings. I have a feeling next week they might be knocked off of both of ours.
Yep.
But we'll just have to wait and see.
All right.
Um, so yeah, I don't have anything else. If is there anything else you want to
No, no,
touch on?
that's
Or
it. That's it. All covered.
all right, brilliant. All right, well, as always, guys, thanks for watching and listening. Um, leave a comment down below. And we can have a bit of a discussion if you'd like. If you like the video, give us the big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy and we'll see you then.
All right. Catch you guys. Bye.